Welcome back to Touchline Talk by Soccerspective. I'm your host of Touchline Talk, Brandon Faust, where we connect the professional game to the grassroots game, helping coaches and leaders and fans elevate the next generation of soccer. Today's episode is something that every coach, whether you're paid or a volunteer, wrestles with. How do we know if our training is actually developing players? How do we make sure we're not just running sessions or running drills? By the way, stop calling them drills. Call them activities, something else, not drills. But how are we actually developing players? Not just running training sessions, not just running, glorified babysitting or games. The United States Soccer Federation has given a clear framework for how players learn best. That's through reality-based, holistic, experiential, and autonomy-supportive. This isn't theory, it's a lens. And today we're going to break it down in a way that can help you coach with clarity, adjust with purpose, and reflect with intention. So whether you've been a credentialed United States Soccer Federation coach and have some of your licenses or not, it's a good reminder, if it's maybe serving as a reminder, or maybe an introduction to ways that you can think about how you're developing players, how you're approaching the short term and the long term with the players that you're coaching. So the first one is reality-based. We got to start with the game. At its core, soccer is a decision-making game. The game will teach the game. So if we want better players, we have to train in ways that develop perception, decision-making, and execution. We have to allow them the opportunities to make decisions. And so some simple things. When you are working with players in a training session, but also in matches, is try not to coach them when they have the ball at their feet. We want them to grow. We want to see what decisions they're going to make. We need to learn what trends players might have. You might have some players who are excellent 1v1, but then the 1v1s turn into 1v2s, 1v3s, and then they start getting in trouble, right? So we want to see those trends. We see some players who should engage and take a 1v1, and instead of they're just kicking the ball or getting rid of the ball, passing the ball a little too early. So the key principle here is we want to start with the game, not just drills, call them activities, right? And what this can look like in a training session is using small-sided games as a foundation, design training around recognizable game situations and game moments. You can simplify it, attacking moments, defending moments, and then transition moments of either attack or defending. And adjust based on, obviously, age and developmental stage. The way in which you run a training session or the content of that training session with U5 should be different than U15s. The other thing we want to adjust is based on ability level and then the context of your team. So here it could be a simple example. Instead of isolated passing lines, right, where you're passing the ball to a teammate and doing this. I'm not saying there's not a time and place for those kinds of things, but could we then create a 4v4 or 5v5 or 3v3 scenario where players must break pressure through certain kinds of passes? Or you can create a 2v1. You can create a 3v2 where you're promoting the ideas, where the game moments then are providing an extra context for them to read the game, to make decisions, and to execute under pressure. If everything we do is just with cones or just in passing lines, we're going to miss the game pressure, the things that we need to do in an actual realistic moments. So the coaching shift is from controlling actions to designing environments that can teach. Secondly, is a holistic developmental approach of developing the whole person, not just seeing the soccer player as a soccer player, but seeing them as a human being. We don't just coach soccer players. We develop people. We coach people. And the key principle here is performance improves when the person is supported. And what this looks like is we want to promote emotional well-being, social connection, confidence. Some of the non-negotiables, if you're a volunteer coach, paid coach, coaching director, is we need to create, a safe environment emotionally, psychologically, physically, relationally, all of those things. We need to do our best to promote that emotional well-being, social connection, and confidence. Most of these players that we work with, even some of the ones that seem maybe the top of the age group or leading the team in goals are probably not going to play professionally. But youth sports can play a pivotal role in their development as a human being, of what it means to help build attitude, communication, leadership, teamwork. Those are all critical things that they can take with them in other sports, in other activities, and in their first job, as they go to maybe to college or into the work, whatever it might mean. We can build into those things and play our part in building into these young people. And a practical application is asking players, how are you feeling today? Or how was this, hey, I heard you were in the school play. How did the school play go? Asking players, what was challenging for you during the week, during training, during the match? Acknowledge their effort, not just outcomes. Praise their effort, praise their hard work, praise them for staying with it, and create an environment where players feel safe, valued, and heard. And it's really a shift from going from this transactional coaching where I'm going to give you all this soccer knowledge, right? Or at least that's what we think we're doing often as coaches, to relational leadership that can help them grow as, yes, as a player, but grow as a person. The third one is experiential. Let them learn through experience. Players learn best through doing, not just auditory listening. And a key principle here is learning starts with the player's experience. So what this looks like is they play, let them play. It's some sort of activity or a scrimmage type environment, whatever it might mean. Then reflect, right? Ask them questions, ask guiding questions, right? So if you're trying to get them to scan to see where a teammate is and where the closest defender is, right? Have them play for a little bit, have them reflect. Oh yeah, I had my head down. Oh yeah, I was looking for my teammate, but I didn't realize where the defender was. Then allow them the opportunity to adjust, replay, and then maybe a reflection again at the end of that activity. After a moment in training, you can ask these guiding questions like, what did you see? A lot of times in training, particularly in games, you'll hear all kinds of things coming from the sidelines from parents, friends, grandparents, well intended, I'm sure, but they're saying, pass here, kick here, take a shot, whatever it might mean. Where can we in training or in matches, when appropriate, when they're off the ball, ask them, what did you see there? What were your options? What could be a better option next time? Instead of scolding them for missing an opportunity, missing a pass, whatever it might mean, how do we keep it positive, but also let them know, hey, what could we do differently next time? And encourage players to share their insights, to share their feedback appropriately, and to also learn from each other as teammates. So this feedback approach, a lot of times, people are like, I'm the coach, I don't want to. No, we do need to hear. Part of coaching is understanding what our players are getting and what they aren't getting. And so focus on process, focus on providing solutions, and avoid overloading players with constant information and instruction. Allow them to get the concept. So if you have a 6 or an 8 playing in central midfield and you want them in training, you've been working on scanning, okay? Make sure that you're encouraging them and praising them for when they're scanning to see a teammate, when they're scanning to see where the defender is. And the coaching shift is from telling and just instructing and commanding to guiding discovery. We can ask leading questions, we can ask guiding questions, but part of that is we need to listen to what they're understanding, and then we need to adjust our coaching appropriately. The next one is autonomy and support, giving players ownership. Great players aren't created by control. They're developed through ownership and through influence that trickles down through them. And empowered players learn at a deeper level and stay engaged longer. Their retention goes up. And what this looks like is it gives players freedom of choice, responsibility, leadership opportunity, and I think the practical application is when we allow players to solve problems before stepping in, they often provide a solution just as good as we would have, or maybe better. And that's actually a reflection of your coaching and your leadership, is because you've created an environment for them to problem solve and to adjust. So much of coaching is you have a good plan, things go a certain way, they might go the way you wanted or didn't, and you've got to adjust again, right? So letting them solve problems before we step in. Now, obviously, if they're saying things incorrectly or doing things wrong, but give them the chance. Give them the chance to use that leadership muscle. Let players adjust rules in a game. We had a game last week where we had, small sided game, 2 goals in the middle of the field to promote kind of passing and moving the ball and looking at different passing angles and those kinds of things. And then we had outside goals. And so the players created the rule to say, before you can attack the outside goals, you have to score in one of the inside goals first, then you can attack the outside. So it gave them some ownership, and it wasn't a big thing. It actually enhanced the activity of what we were trying to do, to get them to think about different passing moments, getting their foot on the ball, moving things around. And then also let players lead small group discussions, right? So you might have a topic. Hey, I want you to get with a group of 3 and discuss your reflection on this activity and what you could do differently next time. Or get into small groups and talk about 3 things we did together as a collective unit. And I'm talking, this is with like U10 girls, right? So if you can do it with U10s, you can definitely do it with U15s, U16s, and beyond. And then most importantly, explain why behind decisions. Explain why you want them to try certain things. Explain the why behind certain activities and the game moment associated with it. And then ask them, why did they think that? Why did they think that was a better choice? Those kinds of things as well. And the coaching shift is moving from command to collaboration. And then I think this is really where coaches gain an edge, is on their ability to reflect and adjust. Frameworks don't change players, but aware coaches do, or can. Reflection is what turns a session into a growth opportunity. After training, ask yourself, what squared with my beliefs, with what I value? Did I embody that? Did the training session embody that? Did the culture of this environment embody that? What aligned with how I want to coach? Did I deliver that too harshly? Was I hurried? Did I give opportunities for feedback, right? Then the second one is, what's still circling in my head? What maybe didn't sit right? What needs more clarity? I didn't like that on our pressure cover that we were, running past when we put pressure, we'd run past the person with the ball and we were getting beat. Okay, so what do I need to maybe adjust, react to for the next training session? And then evaluate honestly what was right, what was wrong, what was missing, right? What was right, what was wrong, what was missing. You can even do this amongst your, have all of your, if you have an assistant coach or someone helping you out, you can have them do the same as well. But the most important question after a training session and after a match is, what will I do next time? Because improvement as a coach doesn't happen by accident. Each team is going to need a different sequence of how it needs to be adjusted. And some teams that are flying and doing well, they need more competition. They need a different challenge in training. Teams that are struggling maybe need to go back to the basics, right? And we need to simplify things and all those sorts of intentional adjustments. But in addition to that, I think having a plan, write down your plan, whether you use the US soccer framework or not, have it written down, have it communicated, have it sent out. Planning allows you to have flexibility. So if something in a session needs to go a little bit longer, let it go a little bit longer. You know what you're taking away from them. So every good session starts with a plan. And this plan allows you to then just really drill down on maybe one principle for the day, right? One principle of, hey, we want to scan this way. And here's what good, better, best looks like when we scan. We want to, in a 2v1, when the player on the ball, we want to engage the defender. And here's how we do that, right? So every session starts with a plan and a singular kind of idea that comes through it. And great coaching is going to require adaptability. You're going to have to stray from your plan, but it's better to have a plan to stray from than a bunch of ideas circling around that you're trying to, maneuver and figure out. Prepare with purpose, Adjust based on player response, energy, understanding. If it's a really hot day and energy is low and you have something that requires a ton of running, maybe it's time to cut that a little shorter, do something else, something small-sided. And I think in this whole coaching mindset, you're not just delivering a session, you're not just coaching a match, you're responding to a learning environment in real time. So every match, every training session is a learning experience and environment for your team, for you as a coach, and for the players individually. So if you want to develop better players, don't just look at your coaching, look at how players are learning. Okay, you can have a great coaching plan, but are the players learning it? Are they embodying it? Stay anchored in reality-based training, holistic development, experiential learning, autonomy support environments, and commit to reflecting so you can continue growing as a coach. Because the best coaches aren't just the ones with the best sessions. They're the ones who keep getting better at creating environments where players can thrive. This has been your latest episode of Touchline Talk by Soccerspective, and we'll see you next time.